Hello everyone, I'm Clover. I run a hermit crab rescue all on my own. I'm 13. Today I'm just gonna quickly go over some of my tanks. And also please ignore the background noise. I'm currently in my pet room and the Egyptian spiny mice are on their wheel and so they are quite noisy. Anyways, like I said, I'm 13 and I run a hermit crab rescue on my own. The only thing that is done by others I mean adults like my mom, is driving. Obviously, I'm not legally old enough to drive. So she does drive me places for supplies or to pick up Hermes or to drop them off at people's homes. Stuff like that. Other than that, I do the rest myself. I've kept hermit crabs for 6 years. 5 of those years I've done it properly with proper care. By proper care, I mean minimum 6 inches of substrate, dechlorinated salt water and fresh water, deep dish bowls, proper temperature and humidity, proper tank size, humidity, holding lid, proper substrate mixture, proper shells, all that. I currently have 10 personal pet hermit crabs that I keep myself as my own pets, and then numbers are changing constantly for the ones throughout the rescue that I take in, rehabilitate, and find new homes for. Like I mentioned earlier, we're currently in the process of building a pet room. So I've been working on that, but because of that, my hermit crab's normal tank, which is 75 gallons, is currently down and not running, and so they're temporarily staying in a smaller tank, which convenient in the time because it makes it easier to show you. So temporarily my 10 are in this 30-gallon tall. Like I said, very temporarily. It's not going to be for long. And I do feel pretty bad putting them in here, but I really have no other option right now. Because, moving something like that full of sand is really hard. Just as a comparison, here's some of my shells. This is the shell size of my largest hermit crab, Saturn. So very, very large hermit crab. And the smallest is about this size. So I've got quite a range here, which does help because that means I have experience with a large variety of sizes. Also, just mentioning, there's a hermit crab here. I think that's actually Saturn, the one in shell size this big. So anyways, if it wasn't for my personal pet hermit crabs being in here, this would be a holding tank for the rescue. So a holding tank is pretty much where the hermit crabs go after they finish quarantine and rehabilitation, and they're just waiting to be adopted. I still am working on getting a light for this tank. Like I said, currently building the pet room. So everything's currently in the process of getting stuff it needs. So that's the first holding tank. Like I said, it's a 30-gallon tall. On this rack, I also keep the shells and a foraging mix. I also keep a few random things, CrabCon 2022, hermit crab, that sort of stuff. I also keep my pressurized spray bottle, which I use to spray down all of my tanks. Not really the hermit crabs. It's mostly just here for the other animals, but sometimes I do moisten the hermit crabs' dry foods. They're for that purpose too. Will you guys quiet down, please? You're being really loud. Alright, moving down. This is sort of a bracket for the lights. So below that is the actual tank. And also on both tanks, I mark 6-inch mark on both sides. Mostly just for convenience. And you might see this one has something weird at the bottom. That's actually a drainage layer. So I'm measuring from right here to here, right here and up, not from below the drainage layer because they are not able to get down there. Siliconed off. Anyways, like you saw, 2 deep dish bowls. I've got heat tape running across the whole back. Temperature and humidity gauge. Got all their shells. Different hiding places, their food, wheel, and yeah. So this tank is a 40-gallon breeder. I say this all the time. It's called a breeder because it is deeper instead of longer or taller. Not because I'm breeding anything. Yeah, that's just what they call this kind of tank. Yeah, so I've got half of the tank full of substrate, half not. Yeah. Just moving up quickly for a second. Hello, leg. What are you doing there? And yeah, definitely Saturn. Also, what are you doing here, Cleo? Yeah, so that's some of my personal pet hermit crabs. Just realized they were out now. Yeah, right below that is my quarantine tanks / rehabilitation tanks. Yeah, so I have all of them down here, but currently only one is being used. Yeah, I try and keep the rest empty. This one has substrate in it, but that's mostly just because I'm trying to dry out the substrate, not because something's going in it. Yeah. So I have 2 lids with, what's it called? Corrugated plastic. Yeah, this one folds. And this one will just go on in 2 parts. Also, I know it's a small gap. These tanks do slide out. They slide out quite easily. Yeah. So corrugated plastic, if you don't know, is pretty much cardboard, but plastic. Yeah. Not sure how else to describe it. Yeah, I've also got a little temperature humidity gauge in all of these. Yeah, like I said, they're not currently being used for anything, but they are there. Yeah. That way they are ready for use. And this one, I have it over in the back there. I do want to hang them, but I've not gotten that done yet. Oh yeah. They each do have a heat pad, and by the way, that does get raised if I have a lot of substrate in here. But normally, since it is quarantine or rehabilitation, they normally don't get too much substrate in these, as you can see here. That way I can monitor them more closely. Yeah. Yeah, along with that, they are right next to the heating vent, and so they stay nice and warm. But yeah, so each 2 tanks share 1 heat pad, but I also do have an extra 2, so I can put 2 of these on each tank if needed for any reason. Yeah. But yeah, so that's why I have this gap in between, is because the heat needs it. Yeah, so 2 of the lids are corrugated plastic, so humidity holding, and then 2 of the lids are simply wire lids, so that it has a lot of oh my god, I can't speak. A lot of ventilation and not much humidity, and that's mostly for rehabilitation, because you don't want to shock a hermit crab that's been kept in a very dry environment into 80% humidity. Yeah, so you want to slowly acclimate them up. Yeah, so these 2 are humidity, these 2 are not, and I also put the non-humid ones on the outer sides, which means that they're getting less of that vent heat, so they are slightly cooler. And that's, again, for acclimation purposes, because normally they are not being kept with 80 degrees Fahrenheit for heat anyways. Yeah. Also, forgot to show you some of the foods they're fed over on the side of this tank. I've got a bunch of the foods. No, not the lizard. Yeah, also, I do want to get this organized and on some sort of racking system. I also do have a lot more food. Yeah, this is just here for now. Yeah, I've got a few different things from the CrabCon VIP package. Yeah, I've got empty pet emporium, mystery foods, which is pretty much a cheaper version of their normal foods, like if they don't forget the ingredients or something. Yeah, hermit crabs love it. It's locos approved, so I know it's safe, and yeah. I've got a bunch of hermit grub foods. California sushi roll, Granny's Garden, what's this? Rainforest Fusion. I've got some of the Just Two with Crabs, the Peanut Butter Crunch Cup, Blueberries Delight. Got this food, it was donated and I checked the ingredients, everything's safe. Yeah. Got this, no it's not hermit crab pellets, I'm better than that. Yeah, it's the fruit salad and the ingredients have no preservatives or sugars or anything, so it is safe. I've got different homemade foods and bags, jars, yeah. They also get staple foods, which is Color Me Purple and Skeletal Power Repair from Hermit Grub. They also get seaweed salad from Hermit Grub and the 24/7 from South of the Ocean. So yeah, they do have staple foods. This is just extra. And like I said, they do get more variety than this. And they also get fresh foods. Yeah. Above all of that, on the top of the rack, I've got these. That's also supposed to be there. Yeah, so the reason I have critter keepers, which are normally absolutely horrible for hermit crabs, is for if a hermit crab surface molts. Because I often get a lot of surface molters, simply because the hermit crabs I take in are normally really unhealthy or sick or injured. And yeah, so it's pretty common. Therefore, I need to separate them, and so they will go into one of these smaller ones. Yeah, super small. But when they're molting, they don't need something large because they can't walk or move at all. So, yeah. Once they're able to move a bit, but their exoskeleton still isn't hardened, and you can tell that by if you just gently touch their claw, their big claw, it'll still be jelly-like and not hardened. Yeah, the hermit crabs would still eat the surface molter at that time, and so they move into a slightly larger one. As an example, where I put a tiny bit of substrate, little bowls, and I have 2 bowls on one side with different foods, and then 2 on the other with salt and fresh water. Yeah, so these are the bowls I use. Currently soaking a bunch of them. But yeah, these are what I use, and that way I can fit 2 side by side on each side of the critter keeper. With different foods and salt and fresh water. And then this one right here, this is actually just a bin. Yeah, I use it to take in hermit crabs if I know they're coming from good conditions. Yeah, I'll normally use like hand warmers or something. Fill the bottom with moist Eco Earth, and yeah. So that is the rescue rack. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.